Good evening, YouTube. So what we got here is going to be an unboxing and scope mounting for what I'm calling a Whitetail scout rifle. So anyways, let's get into it. I went ahead and I picked up a Remington Model 7. This particular model is the 16-inch threaded, and it is chambered in .308 Winchester. Go ahead, remove the gun, and get it out. We'll get the bolt. All right. So I took a look at this when I went ahead and I picked it up at Vienna Arsenal the other evening. But nice, lightweight, compact little rifle. The Model 7, while not a miniature Remington 700, it is, for all intents and purposes, the little brother to the 700. The receiver's 2 3/8 inches shorter than that of the 700, and it's shed some weight as well. The barrel is 16 inches and with a thinner profile, and it's threaded, which is a nice feature. Hunting suppressed, or if you want to go ahead and put a compensator on there. I think I will be leaning towards putting a linear compensator on it, just so I can direct a little bit of that muzzle blast downrange. So going through the rifle, Model 7, it has a hinged foreplate. It's 4+1. Has the X Mark Pro trigger. And then it has the your typical Remington synthetic stock, and this one has a Kuiu camo print on it. I did, going through it now and then looking at it at the store, there are some call them imperfections, some marring on the camo on the stock. Not a big deal, but I prefer it wasn't that way. But yeah, anyways, nice little rifle. It should come in at just over 5.5 pounds, so it should be good. I can't think up offhand what it is overall, but 16-inch barrel, and I guess 34 inches is what I'm going to call it, but it looks about right. But it should be nice, lightweight and nimble. So it should be a good little gun. So I went ahead and got this. Now, one thing I want to say is I did notice when I picked it up and checked it out, the stock is there's a lot of flex in the fore end. The barrel is free floated, but I can quite easily go ahead and flex it. So that would be off initial impressions my only real complaint. You can go ahead and check out this trigger. Yeah, not too bad. Go ahead and lighten it up a little bit so we get out of it. But yeah, and it also comes with a pick rail. But in any event, so that is the gun. And then what I'm going to be doing is I will be mounting my my Trijicon 2.5-10x56 Accupower. Great little scope for low light shooting. 56mm objective, fully multi-coated lenses, 30mm tube. All contributes to drawing in a whole hell of a lot of light, and makes those low light dawn and dusk shots just a little bit easier. And I also have that with the MOA reticle in green. And there's a 11 brightness settings for that, and it goes down very, very dim, and it makes it very easy to go ahead. You can pick up the crosshairs. The light doesn't bleed off the reticle. It's not too much, not too bright, and then you can also turn it all the way up, and it's you can actually see the grain during daylight. So it's a nice little reticle. As far as the scope goes, it's pretty basic. Magnification ring, you have a little nub off the ring, kind of works as a throw lever. 11 brightness settings. It is quite nice. They have the on and off features, or the off features in between each of the brightness settings, and then you do have the capped windage and elevation turrets. And only thing to note on them is you go ahead to reset the turret, go ahead and pop it up, spin it around, push it down, and it's set. And then as far as they are tactile. They are actually quite tactile, and they do click. It's not necessarily loud, but you're not going to be dialing the scope, so to speak, for your shots. But there is no parallax adjustment on it. I don't plan on taking this rifle. The purpose of this rifle is not to be going out anywhere past 300 yards, and I wouldn't expect to be utilizing it out past let's say 175, 150 yards for my purposes. It is powered by one CR2032 battery, and I'm not sure what the battery life on it is. I did leave it on once before, and it died. But other than that, I used it for quite some time before I forgot it on, and I had to replace it. But it's a nice scope. I've enjoyed it so far, and I think it'll be better with this rifle for this purpose. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mount the scope with some Talley lightweight rings. These are the two-piece lightweight rings, but I've used these in the past. They've worked quite well. No complaints, so that's why I'm going with them again. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, take the pick rail off, mount the scope, or mount the rings, mount the scope, and then we'll be good to go. So as we I went ahead, finished lapping the rings. I gauged completion of lapping the rings roughly, and at a point when I'm removing material, that I remove material across the width of the rings, not the entirety of the width, but at a point where I'm removing material, I remove material across the entire width. So anyways, I got the rings lapped, and then I went ahead and I applied some rosin. Similar to the way you would apply rosin to your vise, your barrel vise when you're torquing a receiver onto a barrel. The rosin in this case, it gives that purchase, that extra gripping power for the rings to grip the actual scope ring, or to grip the actual scope. One of the added benefits is that it'll actually reduce the marring or the marking that the rings leave on the scope, potentially. So anyways, once you get that set, you'll go ahead and you'll snug down your rings onto your scope. The next point is you're going to set your eye relief. To set your eye relief, put it to the max magnification. The max magnification, and then you're going to set your eye relief to the front of your eye box. So basically at that most forward point where you still have a good field of view when looking through the scope. And what you'll do is you're going to go cheek weld on the scope, keep your eyes closed, get into a comfortable position, and then go ahead, open your eyes and set it from there. If you intend on shooting the scope or the gun from prone, get into a prone position, because the prone position actually gets your eye closer to the scope than the other position. I don't intend on shooting the scope or this gun from prone. I intend on shooting it offhand and off shooting sticks and other improvised positions in the field. But so you go ahead and you're going to set your eye relief to that forward point of your eye box, and then when you reduce magnification when using the rifle, you'll be able to work through the rest of the eye box Whereas if you set your eye relief from the lowest magnification, when you go ahead and, increase that magnification, what you would find is it would be looking through a tunnel and you would have an improper eye relief. Anyways, so I got that, went ahead and set the eye relief, and then I set using my Wheeler scope mounting kit, which I don't think I went over, but I've been using the scope mounting kit has, lapping bars, alignment rings, 1 inch and 30 millimeter, fat wrench grit bits for the lapping bars, off-brand Loctite, and then they have their bubble levels. So after I set the eye relief, I went ahead and I found the level for the reticle for the scope. So the way you do that is you first want to level the rifle itself. I found a flat surface just aft or just forward of the safety. For some of these, especially like the 700, these tubular receivers, it's difficult to find a flat surface, but basically you need to level the rifle first, and then you'll go ahead and you'll level the scope. Only upgrade I'd make is actually for this Wheeler scope mounting kit is to upgrade the bubble levels. Wheeler has a set where you can actually level the rifle and then go ahead and mount a level to the barrel, which makes it very, very handy. Most of the flat surfaces you find will be on the receiver, or will be when you put the scope on, you won't be able to utilize those spaces anymore. But anyway, so that's just my opinion on this particular set of levels. But once you level the rifle, then you're going to go ahead and you're going to want to level the scope. And you're not interested in actually leveling the scope itself, but the reticle. One of the ways to check that the reticle is level within the scope is to level the scope and then go ahead and set a plumb bob out at a decent distance, 20 yards, something like that. You could do it further if you have the facilities, and make sure that your reticle is set inside the scope without any cant. I have done the alignment with the plumb bob before on this rifle. I am confident, and especially for my uses of this scope right now, that the reticle is set within this rifle without any cant. So anyways, you'll go ahead and do that. Match the scope level, the rifle level, and then what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to start tightening down the screws on the scope mount with the fat wrench. I had mine set to 17 pounds as per the specs from Talley, and I just kind of go with quarter revolution turns, alternating side to side and fore and aft. Tighten the front, tighten up the rear, and at that point you're pretty much good to go. One of the things I noticed, and it was a hindsight thought, was that if I insert the bolt, is that, as you'll notice, the bolt only just clears the nub or the throw lever on the magnification ring. It's about a 1/4 inch clearance. But I've had the case with other scopes where the bolt handle actually smacks into that throw lever on that high magnification. In this case, it won't. Even if I push it forward or up, it won't. Might skin my knuckles, but we can live with that. But that's just something to think about. But all in all, I'm happy with the way everything turned out. The only thing I'm going to plan on doing immediately next with this rifle is go ahead and get hardware to attach this sling. I believe it's an STI sling. I had it laying around, and effectively what I'm looking for in it, I'm not mounting a 3-point sling to this. This isn't Jeff Cooper's, scout rifle. This is Sean's Whitetail rifle, but I would like the ability, if I am going to shoot offhand, to, well, it's not a proper cuff up, but it works like a Rhodesian sling, and I can go ahead and cuff up. So I'm going to be mounting this, and we'll see how that works, and then we'll work with some loads for it. But that is how I mount a scope. I'm excited to see how this rifle shoots, and until the next video, we'll see y'all later. All right, take care.